The Zarenth royal hangar had never been this silent. Huge metal doors stood open, glowing with the red lights of landing alarms. Hundreds of alien guards filled the floor, their weapons charged, their armor shining like sharp crystal plates. Everyone waited for one thing. One ship. One signal. One impossible return. Queen Azira the Unbroken stood at the front of the formation. Her tall, armored figure looked like a living statue carved from obsidian glass. Her long silver crown glowed faintly, matching her cold blue eyes. For years she had ruled the empire with strength that never bent. But today, for the first time, her hands shook ever so slightly. Not from fear, but from hope she refused to admit. Her only daughter, Princess Lorana, had disappeared during the final battle of the Human-Zarenth War. Everyone believed she died in the explosion of the Warfront Tower. Even the Queen accepted the truth with a heart turned to stone. Until the scanners reported a royal DNA signature approaching through the rift gate. Until the small ship appeared on the radar. Until the impossible became real again. A loud boom echoed through the hangar as the ship passed through the shimmering portal of the rift. Its metal was scraped, burned, and patched with human engineering. It looked nothing like a royal craft. But the signal was undeniable. The guards tightened their formation. The Queen lifted her staff. Her voice echoed like thunder. Open the ramp. The ship slowly landed, shaking, its engines gasping as if they had traveled through hell. Steam hissed out from the cracks in its hull. A slow tension filled the air. Everyone stared at the dark entrance of the landing ramp. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. A figure appeared in the doorway. Not alien. Not royal. A human man. He stepped out wearing worn-out armor covered in scratches and dried blood. His hair was messy, his face tired, but his eyes sharp and alive. The guards immediately pointed their weapons. Energy beams glowed, ready to fire. The Queen raised one hand, stopping everyone. Her voice was low and dangerous. "Where is my daughter?" The human opened his mouth, but before he could speak, another shadow stepped out from behind him. A figure with crystal-like skin and glowing marks across her arms. Her hair shimmered like liquid silver. Her eyes carried the fire of the Zarenth royal bloodline. It was her. Princess Lorana. Alive. Standing. Breathing. The Queen took one slow step forward. Her voice trembled for the first time in many years. Lorana. Princess Lorana walked down the ramp with calm steps. But there was something different about her. A softer glow. A deeper strength. A quiet certainty that had not been there before. As she reached the bottom of the ramp, she turned back toward the ship. A small sound came from inside. Not a machine noise. Not a weapon. A tiny voice. A child's voice. The hangar froze. Every guard lowered their weapons without meaning to. Even the air felt like it stopped moving. Then Lorana lifted her arms and stepped aside. A small child walked into view. A little girl no more than 3 years old. She had soft human features, round cheeks, curious eyes. But her skin carried the faint shimmer of royal Zarenth patterns. Her hair was dark with streaks of glowing silver. Her eyes glowed bright blue just like Queen Azira's. She held a small stuffed toy made from human cloth and alien crystal thread. Nobody spoke. Nobody could. The Queen stared at the child like she was staring at the edge of the universe. Her voice cracked as she whispered. "You brought a child?" Lorana nodded slowly. "She is my daughter." The human man stepped forward, placing a protective arm around both Lorana and the child. He spoke with a calm, steady voice. "And I am her father." Shock rippled through the crowd. Some guards gasped. Some stepped back. Some held their weapons tighter without realizing it. But the Queen did not move. Her heart felt heavy, confused, afraid, and hopeful all at once. She walked closer. Her steps slow, careful, almost fragile. The child stared at the queen with innocent curiosity. Then she smiled and raised her little hand. A tiny spark of royal blue light glowed from her palm. The queen's eyes widened. That glow belonged only to the royal bloodline. Only to the true heirs. Azira dropped her staff. The loud clang echoed across the hangar. Everyone jumped. Everyone waited. The queen fell to one knee in front of the child. Her voice broke completely. "My granddaughter." The hangar erupted in whispers and shock. The galaxy had changed in one single moment. A human had joined the royal bloodline. A half-human child now carried the Zarenth throne in her hands. And nothing in the universe would ever be the same again. The human husband and the forbidden union. While the hangar buzzed with shock and chaos, Lorana gently lifted her daughter into her arms. The child held tightly onto her mother's shoulder, sensing the heavy tension in the air. Marcus, the human man, stood close behind them, watching the queen with cautious eyes. He knew one wrong move could turn the entire situation into a battlefield. Queen Azira slowly rose to her feet. Her expression was unreadable. Pain, confusion, anger, and something softer all mixed in her gaze. She looked at her daughter, then at the human father, then at the child glowing softly between them. Her voice was calm but heavy. "Explain everything." Lorana took a deep breath. She knew this moment would come one day. She knew her mother would demand nothing except truth. So she began speaking, her voice steady but emotional. "When the Warfront Tower exploded, I was thrown into the rift winds. I survived, but my body was broken. I drifted for days until a human shuttle found me." Her memory pulled her back to that time, and the story unfolded. She remembered waking up in a small human workshop lit by old bulbs and humming machines. Her chest hurt, her skin cracked, her biocore dim. And above her stood Marcus, a simple engineer with grease on his hands and worry in his eyes. He didn't know she was a princess. He didn't know she was a royal heir. He only knew she was dying, and he chose to save her. He used human medical kits, old nanobots, and a lot of stubborn courage. Every day he checked her heartbeat, her breathing, her energy levels. Every night he sat beside her broken pod because she couldn't sleep alone. Marcus never ran, never trembled, never treated her like a monster. He talked to her, told her human stories, shared human food she could barely eat. He joked, he listened, he protected her. Slowly, her body healed. Slowly, her heart healed too. Queen Azira listened silently, her cold mask beginning to crack. She remembered her daughter as strong, fierce, proud. But now she heard softness in Lorana's voice, a softness that came only from love. Lorana continued. "When enemy hunters came for me, Marcus fought them even though he had no training. He carried me through storms, repaired my armor, protected me when I could not protect myself." The queen's eyes shifted toward Marcus. He stood firm, showing no fear under her intense gaze. Lorana's voice trembled as she spoke the next words. "In time, we became more than allies. He became the one I trusted. The one I chose." A loud murmur spread through the guards. An alien princess choosing a human was unthinkable. It broke every rule, every tradition, every agreement made during centuries of conflict. But Lorana didn't stop. She told her mother how they moved from place to place, hiding from purists who wanted her dead. She explained how she learned human ways, how humans argued, laughed, and loved differently. She told the story of how Marcus found a small broken cottage and rebuilt it with his bare hands so they could have a home. Then her eyes softened as she looked at the child. And then she came. The child giggled softly, glowing with innocent light, unaware of the galaxy-level shock she caused. When I became pregnant, we knew the galaxy would not accept her, Lorana said. The Zarenth would see her as a weakness. Many humans would see her as a threat. We hid for years, Marcus added quietly, his voice steady. I built defenses, I hunted, I repaired old tech to keep us alive. We were always running, always fighting. Lorana nodded. But love kept us alive. Queen Azira's eyes flickered with something painful. She remembered the laws she created, the strict rules that separated humans and Zarenth after the war. She never imagined those same rules would one day endanger her own blood. Lorana stepped closer to her mother. Her voice filled the hangar like soft thunder. I returned because I could not protect my child any longer. Human extremists hunted us. Zarenth purists hunted us. We had enemies everywhere. We needed shelter. We needed family. The queen looked at the child again. Her granddaughter, born from two worlds, carrying power that could unite or destroy everything. Why didn't you come home earlier? The queen whispered. There was a tiny break in her voice, a break no one had ever heard before. Lorana's eyes filled with emotion. Because I feared you would kill him, she said, glancing at Marcus. Or take my daughter from me. Silence hit the hangar like a storm. The queen's breath caught. She had been feared for her judgment, her power, her unbreakable rule. But never by her own child. Azira stepped back slightly, the truth striking her harder than any weapon. Marcus took a quiet step forward. He placed a hand protectively on his daughter's shoulder. Then he spoke with a courage that surprised even the queen. I never wanted to take Lorana from her people. I never wanted to take your granddaughter away. I only wanted them safe. The queen stared at him, shocked by the calm honesty in his voice. He wasn't challenging her. He wasn't begging her. He was simply telling the truth. A truth she had avoided for years. Her daughter loved a human. A human loved her daughter. And together they created a child who carried both worlds inside her. The queen felt something she had not felt in decades. Not fear, not anger. But change. Strong, unstoppable change. Before she could speak, a sudden alarm blared across the hangar. Red lights flashed. Guards turned sharply. A new threat appeared on the scanners. Something, or someone, was coming. And they were not coming in peace. The queen clenched her staff tightly. This story is not finished, she said quietly. Not even close. The queen's judgment. The alarm echoed through the royal hangar like a heartbeat filled with danger. Red lights flashed across the walls, casting sharp shadows on the guards' armor. Everyone turned toward the main holoscreen as symbols flickered into place. Unknown ships had entered the upper atmosphere, moving fast, moving silently. Queen Azira raised her staff, commanding the system to display full visuals. The screen flashed, revealing black ships with distorted energy trails and hidden transponders. No banners, no emblems, no royal code. Just cold metal and the promise of violence. The queen's voice cut through the silence. Identify them. A guard answered quickly. No clear signal, Your Majesty, but their energy signature matches, purest rebel fleets. Lorana's hand tightened around her daughter. Marcus stepped closer, shielding both of them with his body. He didn't need alien training to understand the threat. The queen turned sharply to her daughter. You said purists hunted you. Lorana nodded. They tracked us for years. And now they followed you home, the queen said, her voice dark. Her gaze slowly shifted toward the human man. And you brought them to my world. Marcus stepped forward, not backing down even though dozens of guards flinched toward him. No, he said calmly. They were already watching your borders, waiting for Lorana to return. They knew she would come to protect her child. He didn't shout, didn't panic. His voice was steady, like someone ready to face death if needed. Queen Azira studied him with sharp, unforgiving eyes. He met her gaze without fear. That surprised her more than the enemy ships. But the threat was too close. Too real. Too dangerous. She turned away from the screen and faced Lorana, Marcus, and the child. The hangar went silent again. Everyone felt the weight of what was about to happen. Azira's voice dropped to a chilling calm. Before I choose to protect you, or condemn you, I must know the truth. Her guards stepped aside, forming a ritual circle of glowing lines on the floor. The ancient judgment ring. A place where no lie could survive. A place where the queen decided life or death. She pointed her staff toward Marcus. Step into the ring. Murmurs spread through the guards. A human entering the royal judgment circle was unheard of. Punishable. Deadly. Unthinkable. But Marcus didn't hesitate. He gently touched his daughter's head, whispered something soft, then walked into the circle. Blue light flared around him, whipping through the air like living energy. The queen activated the truth field. In this place, the heart spoke louder than the tongue. Azira's voice carried the authority of centuries. Human, did you protect my daughter when I could not? Marcus looked at her without fear. Yes, he said. His voice echoed with honesty, and the ring pulsed softly, confirming his truth. The queen stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. Did you keep her alive because you wanted power? No, Marcus answered. The ring glowed again, brighter this time. Her next question cut deeper. Do you love her? Marcus didn't blink. Didn't look away. Didn't waver. Yes, he said. The ring responded with a radiant light that filled the entire chamber. Whispers exploded across the guards like thunder. A human loving a princess. A princess loving a human. The old laws shook inside the queen's mind. The way the galaxy used to work trembled. But the queen wasn't finished. She took one more step, her voice like cold fire. Would you die to protect my granddaughter? Marcus didn't take a second to think. Yes, he said again. No fear. No hesitation. No lie. The ring blazed with a brilliant blue light, filling the hangar with warmth. Even the child looked up in awe, her eyes glowing brighter, responding to the truth around her. Princess Lorana felt tears in her eyes. She had always known Marcus was brave. But seeing him stand in the ancient judgment ring, facing the queen of the empire, showed a different kind of courage. The queen stepped back, shaken by what she witnessed. Her mind fought with itself, tradition against truth, pride against love, power against family. She turned toward Lorana. You chose him. Lorana nodded. Yes, mother. And he chose you, the queen whispered. For the first time since the war, something inside Queen Azira cracked. Not in weakness. But in awakening. Then she looked at the child. The little girl blinked up at her with glowing blue eyes, the same eyes Azira once saw in her daughter when she was a baby. The queen knelt down, slowly, carefully, as if approaching a star that could explode with one wrong touch. Come here, little one, she whispered. The child stepped forward, curious and fearless. When her tiny hand touched the queen's palm, the entire judgment ring exploded with golden light. Gasps filled the chamber. The queen closed her eyes, overwhelmed by the energy flowing into her hand. She felt the bond of blood. The bond of legacy. The bond of destiny. This was not a weak child. This was not an abomination. This was a future powerful enough to unite worlds or tear them apart. The queen opened her eyes slowly, her voice trembling. She is mine. She is Zarenth. She is heir. But before anyone could celebrate, the alarm screamed again, louder than before. The enemy ships were descending fast, weapons charged. Purists were attacking the capital. And they were coming for the child. Queen Azira rose, eyes burning with newfound purpose. "Prepare the shields," she commanded. "Ready the fleet. No one touches my granddaughter." The galaxy was about to witness the wrath of a queen reborn. Enemies of both worlds. The royal capital shook as the first enemy blasts hit the upper shield layers. The sky above turned dark with smoke and fire. Dozens of black rebel ships circled the palace like predators waiting for the perfect strike. Inside the hangar, guards rushed into formation while alarms screamed in every direction. Queen Azira stood at the center of the chaos, unmoving, unbroken. Her eyes burned with a new kind of fire. Not the fire of a warrior queen, but the fire of a grandmother fighting for her blood. "Bring the heir to the inner sanctum," she ordered, voice echoing like thunder wrapped in steel. But Lorana shook her head, holding her daughter tightly. "No," she said. "They are not after the palace, they are after her." Marcus stepped beside them, gripping his weapon, a human plasma rifle patched together with alien wiring. He looked at the queen with firm determination. "They won't stop," he said. "Human extremists, alien purists, they all want the same thing. They want to erase her existence." The queen's jaw tightened. For years she believed the greatest threat to her empire was the human race. Now she saw the real enemy clearly. Fear. Fear of something new. Fear of change. Fear of a child who was born from unity instead of war. Lorana spoke softly. "They hate her because she is different. They fear her because she is both worlds." Azira's grip on her staff tightened as she turned toward the command screen. The rebel fleets had formed a blockade around the palace. Their weapons charged, engines glowing with forbidden energy. These were not simple rebels. These were war-hardened purists who rejected peace. Who rejected unity. Who rejected the future. The queen raised her staff and pointed it upward. Her voice carved the air. "Activate the crown shields." A deep roar rolled across the capital as ancient energy barriers awakened. Golden hexagonal patterns expanded, covering the citadel like the wings of a mythical beast. For centuries these shields had been silent, waiting for a true threat. Now they shimmered with power, reflecting the first wave of enemy fire. But the child, standing between her mother and father, suddenly winced. Her tiny hands glowed bright blue, pulsing with uncontrolled energy. The queen turned sharply. "What is happening?" Lorana placed a soothing hand on her daughter's back. "She feels everything. Every blast, every threat, every angry mind outside." The queen's eyes widened. The child was not just sensitive to royal energy. She was connected to it. Born from human love and alien power, she could sense the entire empire's fear. And it was overwhelming her. Marcus knelt beside his daughter, hands steady, voice calm. "Hey," he whispered gently. "You're safe, sweetheart. Look at me." The child opened her glowing eyes, trembling. Then something strange happened. The golden shields above flickered. Responded. Brightened. As if reacting to her heartbeat. A guard saw the change and gasped. "Your Majesty, the heir, she is strengthening the shields." Azira froze. A child barely able to speak, amplifying ancient defenses built by queens across centuries. It was impossible. It was miraculous. It was dangerous. But there was no time to process it. The rebel command ship locked onto the palace gates, preparing a direct strike. A weapon powerful enough to break the outer shield in one hit. The queen turned to her generals. "Open the lower hangars. Launch the royal fleet." Warships roared out of hidden tunnels beneath the palace. Silver hulls gleaming with royal insignia. Thousands of fighters took to the skies, protecting the capital like a swarm of burning stars. Marcus watched the alien starfighters launch with awe. "They still fight like this," he murmured. The queen gave him a small glance. We learned war before your species learned fire, she said. But today, we fight for something greater. The enemy ships clashed with the royal fleet. Explosions lit up the sky, vibrations shaking the palace walls. Back inside, Lorana whispered to Marcus. They will break through if we don't help. We can't just hide. Marcus nodded, gripping his rifle. He turned to the queen. Let me fight. The guards instantly protested. Impossible. A human cannot join the royal defense. A human is the reason this happened. Marcus ignored them. He looked at the queen with steady eyes. You saw the truth. You know I will die for her. Let me prove it. Azira stared at him for a long moment. Not as a queen judging a human, but as a grandmother staring at the man who saved her daughter and protected her granddaughter. She slowly lowered her staff. Give him a Zarenth blade. Gasps filled the room. A human wielding a royal energy blade was forbidden. But the queen no longer cared for old rules. Not when the future of her bloodline was at stake. A soldier handed Marcus a glowing blue blade. The moment he touched it, the weapon hummed, not in rejection, but in acceptance. The queen's eyes widened. Another impossibility. Another sign that fate had chosen them. She pointed toward the battlefield. Go, she commanded. Protect the air. Marcus nodded once. He ran toward the launch bay, joining alien warriors who never imagined they would stand beside a human. Lorana watched him go with a fierce, proud smile. She turned to her daughter. Your father is brave. But outside the palace, something darker moved behind the rebel fleets. Something bigger. Something ancient. A warship with symbols of an extinct extremist order. A ship meant for planetary destruction. The queen saw it and her heart tightened. They did not come to capture the air, she whispered. They came to erase the royal bloodline forever. The next attack would decide the fate of the child. Of Lorana. Of Marcus. Of the entire Zarenth Empire. And maybe even the whole galaxy. The queen stood tall, her voice echoing across every comm line of the empire. For my granddaughter, she said. For the heir of two worlds. For the future. The final battle was about to begin. The final battle for the heir of two worlds. The sky above the capital turned into a battlefield of fire and thunder. Royal starfighters clashed with rebel warships, creating explosions bright enough to light the entire horizon. But all eyes, both friend and enemy, were soon drawn to the massive shadow breaking through the clouds. A colossal warship, older than any vessel in the Empire, descended from the outer stratosphere. Its hull carried ancient markings of the Crimson Doctrine. A purist faction believed extinct for over a century. Their mission was simple. Erase the royal bloodline. Erase the heir. Erase the future. Queen Azira's voice echoed across the palace as she watched the monstrous ship descend. They intend to destroy the entire capital. Inside the control room, Lorana clutched her daughter tightly. The little girl trembled, sensing the deadly intentions of every hostile mind in the sky. Her glowing eyes darted around as if she could feel the weight of the galaxy pressing down on her small shoulders. Marcus raced toward the frontline launch bay, the Zarenth blade humming in his hand. Alien warriors made way for him, unsure whether to trust or fear him. But his determination burned like a sun. He wasn't fighting for glory. He wasn't fighting for honor. He was fighting for his family. Queen Azira lifted her staff, its crystal core glowing bright gold. With me, she commanded. Generals, soldiers, and elite guards formed around her, ready to defend their world and their heir. The rebel flagship fired its first main cannon blast, a beam of pure crimson energy tearing through the sky. The crown shields absorbed it but cracked like glass. A second blast would shatter everything. The queen knew this. The rebels knew this. The entire empire felt the truth. The capital was seconds away from destruction. Suddenly, the child stepped forward, slipping from Lorana's arms. Her small bare feet touched the palace floor, sending ripples of energy throughout the hall. Lorana gasped. "No, stay behind me." But the queen understood before anyone else. She knelt slowly, her voice soft. "Let her try." The child raised her glowing hands. Blue light spiraled around her fingers, merging with golden royal energy shimmering through the air. The shields above flickered back to life, brighter than before. Stronger. Alive. Lorana stared in awe. She's amplifying the entire defense grid. But it wasn't enough. The enemy flagship charged its main cannon again, building destructive energy powerful enough to tear through a mountain. Marcus appeared on the outer balcony, standing at the head of a squadron of alien warriors. The Zarenth blade in his hand crackled with blue fire, responding to the proximity of the royal heir's power. He pointed at the flagship, shouting with fierce resolve. "We take that monster down." Alien soldiers roared beside him, wings unfurling, armor igniting with battle lights. Together they launched into the sky, a combined force of human courage and alien fury. Marcus rode a Zarenth flight board, a hovering platform built for elite warriors, cutting through the battlefield like lightning. Rebel ships turned to target him. He weaved between blasts, slicing enemy wings with glowing arcs of the energy blade. Back inside the palace, the child reached her limit. Her tiny body shook, her glow flickered. Lorana wrapped her arms around her protectively, whispering soft words. "It's okay, my star. You've done enough." But the queen stepped closer, placing her hand on the child's back. Royal energy flowed from Azira into the girl, balancing her, strengthening her. For the first time, the queen whispered. "A Zarenth does not stand alone." Above them, Marcus and the elite warriors broke through to the flagship. They landed on its hull as the massive cannon began to fire. The ship vibrated with raw power, its core overheating. Marcus slammed the energy blade into a control node, sending shockwaves through the metal. The cannon's charging beam flickered, distorted. Alien warriors tore open armor plates, ripping out power conduits. But the ship started its failsafe. A self-destruct powerful enough to vaporize the capital. They only had seconds. Marcus looked at the glowing blade in his hand. He knew what he had to do. And he didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward the main core, diving into the narrow chamber. He lifted the blade high and drove it into the central node. A blinding flash erupted. The entire flagship trembled, electricity bursting across its hull. From the palace balcony, Lorana screamed his name. The queen clenched her staff so tightly it cracked. The child's eyes filled with tears as blue light flickered across the sky. Then, a final explosion tore through the flagship. It burst like a collapsing star, falling apart in a rain of fire and metal. Silence took over the battlefield. The enemy fleets faltered, their morale broken. Royal forces crushed the remaining rebels within minutes. When the smoke cleared, a lone figure drifted down through the burning sky. Marcus, surrounded by a protective bubble of blue-gold energy, the same energy that belonged to the child. She had reached out in the moment before the explosion. She saved him. She pulled him home. He crashed gently into the balcony, exhausted, burned, shaking. Lorana ran to him, falling into his arms. The child hugged him tightly, glowing brighter than ever. And the queen stepped forward, her voice breaking. "You saved my empire," she whispered. "You saved my bloodline." She knelt before the human father. A gesture no Zarenth queen had ever done for any human. Marcus tried to stop her, horrified. But she placed her hand over his heart. "You are family," she said. "You are one of us." The entire galaxy would soon hear what happened that day. The day a human, an alien princess, and a half-human child changed history. The day war ended. The day unity began. For the first time, the Zarenth Empire welcomed a future built not on fear, but on love, on courage, on family. And at the center of that future stood a little girl glowing with the power of two worlds. The heir of peace. The child who would unite the galaxy.